Spectrum wants to hear your views. You can SMS at any time during the show. Type Spectrum, leave a space, type in your contribution and name, then send it to 7197. Your views, our interviews on Spectrum, Radio 1 FM 90.
Good evening, listeners. Welcome to Spectrum on Radio 1. I'm your host, Edmond Chizito. On Spectrum tonight, what are the likely indications if the former Prime Minister Amama Mbabazi decides to contest for the presidency? There is a lot of talk around town about what is likely to happen should the former Prime Minister Amama Mbabazi decide to contest for the presidency in 2016. Mbabazi, who was last week dropped as Prime Minister, has remained quiet about this matter, although he stated that he remains focused on his job as NRM Secretary General and Chinchizi West MP. Many political leaders within the NRM party and the opposition insist that all signs point to the fact that Mbabazi will run against President Yoweri Museveni, considering what his supporters and wife have been doing. The leader of opposition in parliament today indicated that the opposition is planning to reach out to Amama Mbabazi, who they say will be a game changer in the elections, although they prefer that he remains inside of the NRM. Some political pundits say that if Mbabazi decides to contest, it will lead to more factions in the NRM, and that this will weaken President Museveni. They, however, express fear that Mbabazi's sympathizers in cabinet, parliament, and the civil service could be targeted in a purge to weaken his support base. Inside the NRM, there is an ongoing discussion about the power that Mbabazi has, considering his different roles over the many years in the political party as well as in the cabinet. There are some NRM members who think that Amama Mbabazi is a spent force and that he will not even consider contesting against his long-time friend, former guerrilla Yoweri Museveni. This evening, the UPDF guard who have been protecting Amama Mbabazi as well as his house in Kololo were withdrawn and replaced by VIP police. They had the Ministry of Defense described as a normal operation in line with Amama's new status. So tonight we discuss the options available to the former Prime Minister and the sudden change of heart by the opposition, who now view him as a vital partner after criticizing him constantly over many years. Our guests: Honorable Stephen Birahwa, Bulisa County MP from the ruling NRM party. Most welcome, Honorable Birahwa.
Thank you so much, Edmund. Good evening, Radio 1 listeners and viewers.
And we're also joined by Dr. Patrick Wakida, Executive Director of Research World International. Most welcome, Dr. Wakida.
Thank you, Edmund.
Honorable Birahwa, very briefly, why did Museveni fire Mbabazi? Very briefly, in your view. I know we don't hear that, but you and so that. Give us some, what do you think he fired? Should have started Prime Minister.
The exact details of firing, but for me what I would want first of all say is I want to thank the two comrades for having worked together for the last 45 years, because some people who are speaking today hiding themselves at either side, they forget that very important fact that they were in the resistance for 15 months together. These are people who met young people from school and from NASA. They have been in UPM, they have been in the bush, so one as a combatant commander, one more of a mobilizer. They have been in government together now for close to 29 years. I think that's not an easy task. They must have been comrades indeed. They have gone through a hard time. There's when the struggle had the problem in the bush. Some people betrayed the revolution and backtracked. But these ones have been together. The president has been abandoned by so many people. I think Senior Mbabazi stood by him. Equally, SG has had his problems and the president has stood by him. So for me, I want to thank that comradeship. I hope the young generation which is hiding themselves today would have that resilience, that patience to stand by a colleague for that time. But anyway, I'm more interested in the national gains. I'm more interested in what has their alliance, what has these allies and others been able to help this country achieve from that time of extrajudicial killing to what we are seeing today. Aware that democracy is a process, and therefore I can't say this country has arrived. Far from that, we still have a lot of challenges. We must I'm more interested in discussing what all this means in terms of the national, the country's moving forward in terms of the democratization of this country? What are we seeing manifesting itself? Aware that the NRM revolution started from the Bush struggle, and it was initially an armed government. It has been making effort to become purely civilian government, with some challenges of military power still being very strong, and civilian authority failing to take charge in some areas. So for me, this is where I wanted the debate to start. Not so much of why did this one so far the other.
Well, but there must be, like you said, they were friends for a long time. Then all of a sudden, is it because he wants to stand against him? That's what we're thinking.
If I want to go with some specifics of my acquaintance, would be specifics of the challenge of building the national. First of all, I said to move from the NRM has been able to evolve, to move from once a military government trying to get civilian. Okay. The country has been devoid of political parties for 20 years. We are now talking of 8 years old NRM. We are talking of internal contradiction within this young party. We are talking of a chairman of the party vis-a-vis the secretary general of the party. And I think for me, I like debate these organs. These organs are not just so much. Let me say
as a good NRM cadre. Dr. Wakida, what's wrong? Why did President Museveni defend Mbabazi? Some people say because he wanted to stand against him, and President Museveni will not accept opposition, even though they are good friends. For the ones who are good friends, I would not accept. What would you do? To work with somebody who wants to take my seat? Well, it's just natural that he was fired. Go on. It's just natural that the guy was fired. You know, many people have talked about Mr. Mbabazi and Mr. Museveni, and I keep asking myself, what did you expect Museveni to do? Well, but he's not saying it openly. He didn't tell him to forget about that. But he was fired. Do you think? Well, he didn't tell Mr. Mbabazi. He did tell him, don't talk about my seat. My seat is my seat. I've been told that was like president. You see, if you followed the writing on the wall, there was a contestation inside the NRM. And this contestation, if you want to get proper record, you should start it way back in 2006. Mr. Museveni's campaign manifesto in 2006, one of which was that I only want to achieve the East African Federation, and once I've achieved that, then I leave. In 2010, he changed his mind. There was a change of mind, and he said, allow me just to go up to 2011. Now, everybody was committed, knowing that by 2011 is the last time, because he even again promised, he said, it's coming in 2013, so 2013 I'll be going to the East African Community. Unfortunately, that hasn't happened. Now, would you be surprised that Honorable Mbabazi and Mr. Museveni are falling apart? Because one of them feared that the other wants to encroach on his power. I want to tell you that Mbabazi has not been the closest person to Mr. Museveni. The closest person is that one who washes you in your ear. The person who treats you in your ear, gives you bedroom sandals. Exactly. And I want to tell you that that person is not Mr. Mbabazi. That person is Dr. Besigye. Dr. Besigye was Mr. Museveni's first-hand person all throughout the bush. And everybody knows this. He's called a physician. A physician is the only person who will see beyond what you see. Who will inject you, say, will inject you, will wash your wound, and especially if you're combatant, you are prone to those kind of wounds. And especially when you're combatant, where you don't have a basin to wash, you are prone to have smaller wounds. So the only person who has experienced that one becomes the closest to you, isn't it? Certainly. Yeah, you. We have seen how that one has been treated since 1999 when he declared his interest in contesting. So everybody who is saying, maybe they are playing games, maybe can he relocate his friend like that? Look back and read the history it's happened before. Now, it's a challenge. And every Ugandan must be worried. You see, these are leaders. These are leaders who are running this country. They have run this country for the last 27 years, 28 years. There is definitely a need for stability in the ruling government, in the ruling party. And all anybody who sees that kind of disagreement has a reason to be worried. I have heard people talk, news talks, that Mbabazi is weak, Mbabazi is unpopular. Who told them? Yes. A good brand, and I'm going to talk from the point of marketeer, a good brand talks for itself when it's ready to be on the market. A good brand, that person, the owner of that brand, all what he doesn't start by putting the brand on the shelves. He starts by recruiting the marketeers. He starts by looking for the stores. And I'm very certain that whatever you see is from a point of awareness that this man had already put the marketeers. All he needed was to get people to go and begin.
We'll get into the detail of that, the possibility of this content, but let's get one thing out of it. President Museveni came in and he said this is a fundamental change. Now you say the street has become very street-free. So there was no fundamental change in the end. He's like he's a little bit like the others before him. Bulisa said the chair was street, he didn't want to leave. Museveni doesn't want to leave, is that what you say?
Somebody can change.
He might change his mind.
Yeah.
It was Nicholas and looks at
it was not written in the Bible. He can change. I remember one of the statements I've always remembered is when he said the problem of Africa, leaders overstay. But if you ask him that statement, he will say leaders really not have a mandate.
Might even box you. Honorable Birahwa, when Mbabazi stand for president, very briefly. First of all, let me comment on the withdrawal of army. We talk about army and replacing the police. Ideally, army should not be protecting VIPs. The police should be doing that. And I wish Ugandans knew that that's supposed to be. Open has already spoken about that. So, Ugandans are so naive that sometimes they find it okay for the army to be the ones deployed and find it comfortable, and the police are supposed to be doing it. Well, the government spokesman. So I think that's another reason. Well, do you think this man goes stand for president? Secondly, you know my personal name. I am a regular here, and I have not so much excitement of anybody of President Museveni generation to succeed him. I want to repeat, after 15 years in the struggle, 15 plus, and after 29 years in government, whereas I thank and salute all comrades of President Museveni for having worked with him, I would expect them right now to be working towards their children succeeding them. And therefore I support anybody in the generation of President Museveni who works towards a transition of their own children. And by good chance, Amama's children by the names of Nina are of age. I congratulate Nduguru, a very capable man, his children. We had a very good candidate for Yala. One of them tried to go to Yala. Who almost made it. President Museveni children are of age. For me, really, it's not anybody who still brings the argument of historicals, the Wessigers, is actually so backward. So Honorable Birahwa, you don't support President Museveni's you also retire. President Museveni and his comrades were engaging in politics at below 30, at age 30. Their children are now hitting 45, some are 40. So President Museveni should retire. I am saying, I may not have the timing. I am for a national dialogue, I am for a national conference, I am for a transition, I am for a constitutional amendment, which says prepares the children of these people. I don't need a constitutional amendment. I have given names of these seniors, these historicals, not because I'm saying they should succeed by their children, but I'm saying Ugandans of the generation of their children are ready. And we should work towards preparing that ground. So for me, any debate of the historicals succeeding, saying I don't think some shouldn't succeed himself either. What I'm saying is succession cannot be, you can't wish it off. It's going to come at its time. What we are seeing is symptoms and signs of institutions like political parties. Revolutions were founders founders of political parties, they always have in young democracies, you always have problem of succession, fear of succession. You have problems of them wanting to fight each other. You have problems. So what we are seeing in Uganda is just a reflection that we have young institutions called political parties, and we should work very hard to build strong political areas, strong institutions where succession is not a problem. We should also build a strong political party where we have a full-time prime minister, where if possible other office bearers should in the full-time secretariat are not in the full-time running of government. Okay. So the fusion of the party secretariat, which we have currently, with the full-time managers of government, is one of the problems. So for me, I would like to discuss institutional challenges. I would like to discuss what this means for the country. I would like to discuss what is there for our children, because this generation has a very, very strong generation, very dominant, has been around for 45 years, but they're not even around. So actually we will go and we want to see how we prepare for it. I'm not even speaking from a generation of what we call the Mao Mayombo Olanya generation. I am talking for that generation which is coming, and the generation is waiting. How I wish they could take charge at age 35.
Yeah, Dr. Wakida, do you think Mbabazi will stand for president? And what do you think the dynamics will be? I think much of the thing is good. In my view, he will contest. What are the dynamics? Will he be NRM, will be independent, will he be FDC? It's going to depend on a number of things. The way he behaves and the way he is treated. Give us a scenario. What could happen? One scenario could be for Honorable Birahwa and his colleagues to put a motion to vote him out of Secretary General position. Well, in the delegates conference, I've heard that. You're in the delegates conference. Still the chairman of the party can call the delegates conference. You know that. Well, but most of the delegates support Mbabazi, which is that is a thousand. That is perceived. You understand? That's perceived. That's one way. The other one is to let him go up to May next year. He contests, but he will not have a fair ground. Therefore, he will leave the election a broken man. And at that point, you have to choose whether to keep him there or to leave. The wisest thing would be for him to keep cool until such a time when he is prepared to do that. Like what? What do you mean? To keep cool, just like he is. He will leave the Honorable Birahwa's team and to harass him, to abuse him, but he remains the man who he is. When I read the letter that fired him, and the letter that he wrote to his appointing authority, I saw a very sober person. He is normally sober. He demonstrated leadership. He knew that the day you appointed is the day you begin to get fired. Let's explore that scenario that painted for us. The game changer basically, everything remaining constant, is the delegates conference, probably in February next year, not even 6 months from now. What would happen if he perceives himself to have been rigged out? One thing is, no doubt, the Mbabazi candidature in the NRM creates a party within the NRM as a party. There is no doubt that Mbabazi has got a following. No doubt, and people should not read him out. I want to tell you one of the problems FDC has had, and probably FDC will be in office, was that they did not have teams within the district and within the electoral areas where votes. What kind of people does Mbabazi have? Mbabazi, for all those years, he has been the secretary general of the party. And one of the accusations is that he had created a power structure that was fighting. These are things we read about. Now, if you do have that kind of structure, chances are that you already have a team to run with. And if you have a team to run with, chances are that you can have an impact. Let me tell you, if you did a scientific survey today, and you wanted to know whether Mbabazi is popular or not, don't focus on the FBCs. Just ask 2 questions. Will you vote yes or no? If the voting was to happen today, would you vote? Yes or no? Which party do you belong to? What do you think there is a which party do you belong to? So the first question will be, which party do you belong to? And it says NRM if this. And then you get, say, 69 or 80%. The NRM. Now, more interest should be of those who say they are NRM. How many of them? What percentage of those who say they are NRM says they would vote the other one or the other one? And the chances are that Honorable Mbabazi could be between 20 and 30%. As of now. He could be saying up to 70%. But let me tell you, when a reduction of 30% from Mr. Nsonga added to the current opposition provides a big challenge to the ruling government and to him as a candidate. Any reduction, let me repeat, you're saying 30% is significant for Mbabazi. If Mbabazi is able to move, and I think that's the fear everybody has, that if he's able to, assuming he contested, because we are all speculating, the man said he won, there's a campaign headquarters somewhere. If he moved out of that party with a 30%, the current opposition strength is between 25 and 30%. So 30 plus 36. That will be 60%. Let me tell you, it creates, in politics we call the political momentum. It has a multiplier effect of 1.8%. Wow. 1.8% a month per the speed with which that momentum grows. Yeah, the velocity. I have told people before that has Mr. Nsonga become more popular than he was in 1996? What do they say? Some people say yes. Others don't understand. But from a statistical point of view, you want to understand the popularity of a candidate by the volume of voters he scores. From the volume of voters he scored, I want to confirm to you that if you went mathematical and looked at the turn-up of the voters and looked at the number of voters who voted in the previous elections, they are fewer than what they were in 2006. Then is becoming less popular. That's what you see. Not really. It could be still there, but you want to put a weighing scale to see, is Mr. Nsonga more popular than when he contested with the mobile? Let's take a break at this again. This is Spectrum on Radio 1. Do stay tuned.
Sorry, my dear. May I put my shopping bag here? Oh, no problem. Thank you. I love the new taxi park. It's much cleaner. Agreed. And speaking of clean, the session looks interesting. I've never seen it before. Look, it's the new laundry powder from Mukitale. I had to try it. Oh, is that Mama? I've heard about it. Apparently, it makes your washing smell sensational. They say this Mama washes cleaner than clean. Such a pretty sachet. Yes, and I'm told that Mama cleans and softens your washing where you need two in one action. My sister says the colors stay bright too. Save money, save time, and get the fresh fabric softener all in one with new Mama laundry powder. I think life just got a little easier. Mama knows best. Discover new Mama 2-in-1 laundry powder from Mukitale and wash cleaner than clean. Wash after wash. Achievement? The Rising Talent Region was last month #1. The Science Fair in the top 5 for 2 years. The popular good practice competitions won a scholarship to a top school of choice. So you see, as long as my son stays focused on his dreams, he's unstoppable. Eric, tell them. I'm unstoppable. That's my boy. And that's why I decided to keep him strong and healthy with the power of Child Days Plus. I think he's growing up to be a doctor.
You too can give your child's dreams the power of Child Days Plus. With Child Days Plus, every child under 5 years of age is given a complete package of free health benefits, including immunization, deworming, and vitamin A to keep them strong and healthy. Take your child to the nearest health facility or outreach post for Child Days Plus services during the month of October. Child Days Plus. A happy child, a happy family. This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Health with support from UNICEF.
legitimate whiskey is different. I am proud that we can now enjoy quality and taste. And style too. I have not felt so original with the liveliness I get each morning after I enjoy legitimate whiskey. Everything seems to be going my way. This is a whopping discovery. Legitimate whiskey is blended from carefully selected Scotch malt, giving it a golden amber appearance with a silky smooth and soothing taste for lasting satisfaction. Legitimate whiskey, a masterfully crafted blend, expertly blended, lighter and styled whiskey. Please enjoy responsibly. Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90.
Welcome back to Spectrum tonight. What are the likely implications if the former Prime Minister Amama Mbabazi, whose graduate withdrawn today, decides to contest for the presidency? Our guest, Honorable Stephen Birahwa, Bulisa County MP, comes from Benarem. Dr. Patrick Wakida, Executive Director of Research World International. You'll be able to contribute to this discussion if you call in, when calling later. Honorable Birahwa, given your own scenario, Mbabazi decides to contest. They could sue President Museveni out of power if he allows your position. You could be out of power in a poll.
First of all, my understanding of the political situation of Uganda, I was talking about the evolution of the NRM from the NRM revolution from the military government to a civilian government, and how our citizens could understand what I'm talking about. The solution of what's happening in this country is not entirely in electioneering. What is it? It is not necessarily in electioneering. Basically, what Dr. Wakida is conceding that we don't have a strong opposition, and that's why the debate now, the hegemony, is intra-NRM. But we are discussing the national politics. We are discussing the future of this country, stability and security of this country. And therefore it cannot be only an NRM matter. I would be very happy as NRM if we emerge stronger in how we solve this internal contradiction, because what's going to be most important is how do we emerge out of this contradiction. So it therefore becomes pertinent that we don't take the hard line person, let's see what happens to Mbabazi, let's see what happens to President Museveni. And so many young people, some of them want to climb. I belong those two extremes. I don't belong those extremes. For me, first, I'm in politics for national people. Yes. Secondly, the future of the country comes first. Thirdly, I'm in NRM and how I wish my party could resolve this conflict. But I want to say the matters of this country, we can't lock out other non-political party, other non-politician actors who are actually very important stakeholders. You talk about the I'm talking about the soldiers. Soldiers are busy with the soldiers will come in. The soldiers are really very good players. They may even be playing 70% of the politics.
What do you explain that for us? They command 70% control of
the Berbers were making problems here. They talked to Kayura. Kiseka, they talked to the Kayura's people. The other taxis, it was not the mayor, it was not Jennifer Misi, it was the police. So should we talk about elections? But forget about election. I'm saying, not forget about election. Something must precede election. Well, if they can't, that is the national dialogue. That's consensus building. We have a Vision 2040 to do. We have an NDP to do. We need consensus of citizens beyond these political parties, which most of them are dead anyway. We need to engage the cultural leaders. We need to engage the religious leaders. We need to engage the manufacturers of this country, the professional bodies, the lawyers of this country, the engineers of this country, the accountants of this country. These are stakeholders. These are the private sector. These are taxpayers. Nobody is consulting. So any discussion of national politics, leaving out these important stakeholders, is not democratic. It is not representative, and is not good governance. So what I'm saying, judging the performance of our dead political parties, non-functionality of our political parties, we cannot leave the future of this country in their hands. We need a broader-based, debate which brings other citizens, including the civil society, to discuss the future of this country. It will be very important to have this. No,
That is possible.
We can garner critical mass.
But that's true.
We can garner critical mass. No, this one's a peaceful one. This one is a soft landing.
will never allow
this one will allow historicals to retire in peace and allow their children to come. This one will allow even to discuss issues of balancing the army, the role of
allow you to discuss those things.
It's possible. Why do Ugandans want to discuss one man, Mbabazi, and the president? I don't belong to that category. For me, I would want us to discuss the future of our children, the future of this country, and I am for national dialogue, I am for national debate, I am for the transition to be negotiated. When we talk about an election, maybe we are putting a national roadmap where we want the country to be, and therefore I will continue advocating for the national dialogue, which comes with a roadmap, which comes with a lot of constitutional amendments, because there are a lot of so many areas of constitutional amendments. Possibly, part of the problems we are facing is because we will discuss the powers of parliament, we will discuss the powers of the president, we will discuss what we want the country to do in the next dispensation. So possibly after having the 95 constitution, it is now coming to 20 years. We may have to look at what other areas we are looking at. And so that's what I think. It's a good topic for civil society and the state.
It's a good topic for a seminar. Civil society, United Africa. You never sit in there. If you can't register them,
it is possible.
It's an academic.
That's what dialogues are possible.
Dr. Wakida, Dr. Wakida, some people think the NRM is going to split. Mbabazi will run off with a faction, Kadaga will run off with a faction, Bukene will have his own faction. What will President Museveni be left with?
You see, it's not easy to be in a position of this government, just like my colleague here is saying. There are a number of things that happen. One of them is that even your friends will start to come closer to you. You will have people deserting you. You will have all these cases against you. This is very common, especially
cases against you.
Yes,
this
is very common in countries such as these. But let me first of all address an issue. My colleague here said that the opposition is weak. Let me tell you, up to now, there is no litmus paper that you can use to judge whether the opposition is strong or not. What the opposition is that it has been threatened to become weak. It's been called into a corner. Yes, it has been called into a corner.
So it is a fact.
I want to tell you that if the opposition in this country give them 2 months and give them the freedom, the impression you have will immediately change.
What are you talking about? You're talking about Kayunga?
It will totally change. No, people, you see, if you suppress a person, it doesn't mean that person respects you. Oh, it's different. Yes, you just suppress. Now, as we talk, you cannot hold a gathering of more than a certain number of people without getting permission. You cannot go on the street and you don't get permission from a priest. Now, if that is the case, how will you gauge whether the opposition is strong or not? Because the judgment of the strength of opposition, the barometer is only seen at a rally. Can you pull a crowd? That is one. That's one of the barometer that is used, and it's the easiest for people to see. Then you say, that man is strong. That's one. Now, if that lacks, I would be surprised that the Honorable MP is able to talk about that when he made the challenge. Now, the other
they brought in the issue of the rally. I covered the 1996 election, and I remember President Museveni drew crowds as big as possible. The crowds were literally the same size. The results were different.
The is conceding that by public order management bill having passed through the legislation process, it has also resumed.
It has weakened the opposition.
Please, I'm talking about, for me as a political scientist now, I'm just analyzing the state of the politics of the country, how we are standing, the state of our polity is what I'm looking at, and therefore and that's what I'm saying. Because of the state of affair, I don't have any hopes really electioneering. I know It can only be the strong man, President Museveni. It can only be the founder of the revolution, the founder of the party, the majority party, through a negotiated by conceding by the way. President is not under any pressure from any position. NRM is not under any pressure from a position. It is currently an intra-NRM matter. And therefore it can only come from wisdom, can only come from NRM to say we now want to have this. In terms of numbers, and to not come from parliamentary motion and anybody means. I want to correct to this impression. Says Dr. Wakida, working with the religious leaders, working with cultural we can, it is President who will sit in the under the constitution writing under the Dr. Wakida, give us a now. I want to insist it's possible. I want to tell you one thing. The population is like a flame that comes out of a bottle of beer. The bottle of beer can be as quiet, even when you shake it, it can remain quiet. The day you open that bottle, what happens? You lose everything in that bottle. And that's what happened. Are you putting that's what happened in how do you achieve this is how it happened in Egypt. In Egypt, the election before from Egypt, my professor is a vaccination to immunize the country against in Egypt, before Hosni Mubarak was overthrown, he scored in that election well over 93%. Gaddafi, when he arrived here, I was in Entebbe. Yes. The security was all through from the airport up to stairs here. We used to have a convoy of airplanes. Even airplanes used to. And also they knew that he was the most popular person. And I know that Mr. Museveni, by the way, is very popular. Edmund, Dr. Wakida. Let's hear from this guy. No. I have been listening the rest of the time. Let's hear from him. No. I want to have balance. This is the balanced. Yes. You agree with me. I read the results of the 2016 election. President Museveni will win. But you say you want to saying for the sake of this country, you cannot be just accepted by electioneering. What we want to hear, Dr. Wakida, what is what you are really going to do? National dialogue, constitutional reforms, transition, what this country needs. You see, because we have an election, 90%, what happens? One alternative is a defiance. Let's hear from him. Is the president of Egypt. We want stability, we want stability. I am now talking to the political I'm talking to a political scientist. Yeah. I want to tell you one thing. That in 1996, between 96 and 99, nobody knew that they will emerge a force that will cause for a non-correction. Elections are subject to emotions. Emotions that come with a hope. At this point, anybody who will emerge, good, bad, worse, as long as that person gives the hope. And I've always told people that Mr. Museveni, whoever wants to vote him out is not going to vote him out because Mr. Museveni doesn't deliver services to people. No. It is the fatigue many people begin to get to think that, oh, I want to see another person. You think they're tired? I want to see another person in front of me. You think people are tired? That is what causes. And I wanted, I was reading one book by Paul Kulia. Paul Kulia, yes, the economist, argues very well. He said, don't waste money on an election in the countries that have not achieved a GDP of more than 500. Right. He says, when a country is like that, they can always leader in power from the listeners. Dr. Wakida, why a drain lines between our beloved leader and Mubarak and Gaddafi? How Gaddafi does? How did you such problems? I am actually not drawing an experience of things to see. You see, in a country where the opposition is silent, it's more dangerous. I would prefer to have the opposition here shout and know what they are planning
Then have them silent. That's how you compare. You can't know the anger, the inherent anger people might be having.
I will state one point.
You can't compare us.
Yes. I will continue stating one point.
Yes.
I have disagreed with those who say electoral reforms per se will democratize the country.
Let's hear from the listeners.
This opposition will require a national consensus, a national dialogue, and transition of some sort, and constitutional.
You can call in listeners. Our number is 041-434-8111, 031-260-390, 031-261-390. I'm calling. Please tell us your name and how you call. Hello?
Everyone, good evening.
Hello? You're now on air. Your name?
My name is Jimmy. Hello?
You're now on radio. Who's gone?
Oh, thank you. My name is Jimmy. I'm calling from Kampala. Now, I'm suggesting that unless Uganda reaches the level like which Kenya and Tanzania have reached, these two countries have never had change of president, and they have come and attended the handover ceremony. But since independence, we have not had that. And so
contribution. Spectrum, hello. Okay, something with those lines. We're going to be rectified, and then we can call in with clarity. Dr. Wakida, Uganda has never had a peaceful transfer of power. 1, 2. Uganda does not have a single former president. 3. President Museveni has ruled longer than all former leaders combined. You see, we need to have where we are coming from. That's one. And I agree with some of the Indian people when they say we needed time to transit and create that level of stability with another leadership. I agree with them. But you see, you don't need that much time that you to create that kind of transition. Especially when you're aware that the problem of Africa are the leaders who overstay. Yes. And that means that he's aware that that's the problem. How is he prepared, therefore, to handle that problem are, I think, the things we don't know. Maybe he wants to stay for 50 years. Maybe I want to say something about Uganda. Like Honorable Birahwa is saying, we can have a transition if we went through a national conference, but a national conference with honest minds and determination to achieve it. Unfortunately in politics, it is all about strategy, winning and taking it all. Therefore, even if they will go for the national conference without that in mind, it will be a waste of time. Why do we need a national conference? We've got parliament, we've got all the legislature, the executive. You see, in a national conference, we don't talk like in parliament. In parliament, the majority wins. In a conference, you go by consensus. This is
what I was going to say, but didn't allow me to explain it. You see, all the numbers fail to deliver. You go for give and take.
Yeah.
I say it will only take the president's concession. He's not under any pressure from anybody. But for the sake of our children, for the sake of the grandchildren, and because of the other stakeholders I talk about, who are not politicians, who are not political parties, because I am saying the political party process in Uganda has failed.
Alright, you can take all the lines that
we need to go into the other process, which is non-partisan, non-political party, but important stakeholders in this country, which include the law council, the academic bodies, professional academia, which includes the taxpayers, the manufacturers, the accountants. These are citizens who must participate. The line is of the new constitution.
The lines are clear now. The number is 0414. You can call it now. 0414 348 111. 0312 260 390. 0312261390. When you speak like that, you're casting a vote of confidence in our legislature and the people.
I am an analyst. I've told you, I've analyzed our functionality of our political parties, and it's not there. Which political party secretary is working? Tell me one. It's not there.
We have flags at the head of it.
So therefore we need to look outside these political parties, and that's what the solution is. It's not only in Uganda. Let me tell you, Moi was a very strong man. by when I was doing work in Mombasa and Arabia, it took religiously that it took the whole answer.
They were color, I guess.
Indeed. They were
I am going to the current system has not given a clear picture of how the commission is coming up. But that's the way it is created by the current regime.
Spectrum, hello? Yes, Honorable Birahwa,
When we say he is a very strong leader, and anybody who says him off, and I think that's how people have made mistakes, to wish him off and not look at how strong the man is. The point I'm trying to emphasize
in terms of what?
The point, he's been around for this time. Before him, we saw people were there for 6 months, others for days, and by the way, what have you also been saying, what am I saying, Makerere? Professors have not done very well in governing this country. They have failed to stay for long. But we made almost 9 years, President Hussein has made this long. So we need to analyze what is the problem with our politics. And that's why for me, I would rather that we don't take this. It's not a game of the strong. It's not a game of numbers. We are talking about the legitimate talk of other stakeholders of this country.
This is strong, you're comparing it to Gaddafi.
The future of our children, but I'm also aware this is a revolution. That's why I took it to tell you, this government needs to come by reward. This government background is so we must also, that also requires a transition. That's why in 2005, I opposed switching from movement system to political party. How do you do that? At what stage do you remove the undoing of the political system?
Okay, how do you get into
details and you can see what you have.
How do you get into the Tanzania mode? You see, normally really beats my ears whenever I hear is this concept of strong, very strong person. I've read history. One of the strongest person in the history, in the armed history, is Napoleon Bonaparte. Yes. Do you know where he died? Explain. He died in the island. I want to bring it to you. Yes. When he died here, we had Mobutu, who ruled the country with an iron fist, and the leopard hat. In this country here, Egypt, we had Hosni Mubarak, whose tenure of office had not been defined. We've had countries who even legislated the leadership, but eventually the population wins. For me, always my prayer. If Gaddafi 6 months before his death allowed his son to succeed and had a national dialogue, you see, Libya would still be the best. So you're trying to avoid that. So I am very mindful of all these scenarios, and I've looked at them. I want to look at that is so that national dialogue, deliberate and conscious. But anybody else thinks that the election will do. Of course, those who have failed. No, I have failed the next 5 years. The solution is in national dialogue, is consensus building, not because government is weak, government is still very strong, but because as a country we need to move together. Even those who are in national dialogue, even those who are in political parties, without national dialogue, it's risk. Anything is possible in those adversaries. And by the way, I am not among those who want to see a regime change. I want a soft landing. I want this country to continue. That must be very hard. I think want to continue growing up. I think that spontaneous reaction, we are talking of people who are named in defiance. We are killing the economy. And actually, I was rather have a negotiation. I was going to miss an election and go for a dialogue, go for a constitutional amendment, and come up with a roadmap as long as the country continues after all the dialogue. Yes, Doctor. Well, I think you're very right on that. I have said this, that for you, elections, choice in election, democracy is a function of civility. Civility is very fundamental in making people therefore know their civic duties, both the leaders and those who vote.
Now, in a country where people don't know why they vote because somebody has come to be voted in, then elections, as he says, may be very difficult to change. But that said, it shouldn't therefore make the leaders, those in government, to assume that they are liked, because there is no proper measure that measures whether people like them or they don't like them. Since the elections do not determine, they don't vote because they voted a leader who is liked.
Right. Exactly.
And that is very dangerous in such countries. Experience has showed that when you stay in power without preparing the transition he's talking about, you subject a country to dangers. You've seen in Egypt, they are still grappling with confusion. In DRC, they are still grappling with confusion. How many years ago?
And can I add one thing?
Yes, as we go.
During the current constitutional status quo,
Is allowed.
any government, any successive government could be worse than the one we are discussing. Because the powers are given both the president.
We should stick with the one that
I will die my God. And secondly, the reason why we have political party is that you are looking at it.
time is up. Thank you.
Position very much. That is a disorganized. That means you don't have where to hand over. There's no country in place. And that's very much.
Thank you.
First, not going prepared. That's why we and friend we should have given a president for that to be so. Yes.
Actually, thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. An election and we apologize our lines a little bit, but they will be rectified in the future. I've been in the statement. Spectrum will be back tomorrow with better lines to believe.
This house has been in our family for years. I remember the first time I painted with my father. He must have been about 12 years old. Yeah.
What has the poor child done?
Mother George, that has been punished, but I didn't think of it that way. One thing stuck with me though. I remember Dad saying to me, when it comes to credit, there's only one company you can never go wrong with. I have trust.